empty shelves at supermarkets, the rationing of staples, and shuttered stores. After more than a month of fighting in Ukraine, ordinary Russians have fewer options when they go shopping. More than 600 foreign brands have announced their withdrawal from Russia, according to Yale University. Some cited concerns about the conflict and the safety of staff, while others left as the U.S. and its allies unleashed a raft of sanctions that could complicate business operations in the country.
Russia has been decoupled from the global economy and all these goods and services that came into Russia over the past years and made Russia part of the modern world. So the ripple effects of this are going to be massive.
So here's how people in Russia are dealing with the economic fallout and the glimpse it offers into public sentiment about the war across the border. In the 1990s, as the former Soviet Union began disintegrating, foreign brands started setting up shop, and many were immediately popular. Fast forward about 30 years, and with the war across the border, hundreds of these companies are temporarily curtailing operations or pulling out entirely from Russia. That's partly because running a business under Western sanctions is getting difficult. For instance, several Russian banks have been delisted from the global financial messaging system, and that can make it trickier to carry out basic tasks like importing supplies or paying employees. Many of these brands are beloved by Russians. On the day IKEA announced that it was shutting its 17 stores, there were long lines of people waiting to do their last-minute shopping. The Swedish company's pullback has also meant that jobs are in limbo, even though it said it would support 15,000 employees in the immediate future.
Транспортная компания, мы сотрудничаем с IKEA. Получается, наши сотрудники тоже без работы останутся. И мы, опять-таки, у кого кредиты, у кого ипотеки, да, кто это все будет закрывать, тоже никто не знает.
So far, most of the companies that are pulling out have said that they will continue paying their employees. It's not quite clear how long they'll be able to last, so it's still sort of a wait-and-see approach.
Not all foreign companies have chosen to leave. Some are playing a balancing act by staying put and scaling back. For instance, McDonald's said it suspended direct operations in Russia, but the outlets owned by local franchises have remained open. And Pepsi said it's halting sales of its big soda brands, but will continue to sell other products like milk and baby food. The corporate pullback is one of many pressure points on Russia's economy. A few days before Putin launched the war, Western nations dropped hard-hitting sanctions on the country, and as the ruble plunged, Russians lined up at ATMs to take out cash. This was also compounded by inflation, which has been persistently on the rise during the coronavirus pandemic. And now, the war has made the purchasing power of ordinary Russians even weaker. So some started stocking up, which has prompted supermarkets to restrict the sale of some products. Putin has vowed to carry out a raft of measures to offset the pain of sanctions on Russians, and the government reassured the public that there will be no shortage of food or daily necessities. But as Western sanctions shake the Russian economy and foreign companies continue to scale back, domestic support for Moscow and the war isn't waning.
That even among people that are against the war, there's been sort of a blowback of thinking, how are these actual penalties, how are Western companies leaving really helping fix the situation?
And this anti-West sentiment is already strong in large swaths of the country. For example, in one town more than 150 miles away from Moscow, protesters drove cars marked with the letter Z, which has become a Russian pro-war symbol.
Most of rural Russia and provincial Russia, they rely on Russian-produced goods anyways, and this is the majority of Vladimir Putin's support.
And Putin's popularity has increased after Russia launched its war in Ukraine. He had an 83% approval rating, according to the independent Russian pollster Levada Center. So with no immediate end to the war in sight, ordinary Russians may deal with deeper economic pain as sanctions mount and more companies choose to leave.